What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Bit of Footy YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be running through my round 17 tips for the 2024 AFL Premiership season. Now, last round at round number 16, as you can see on the screen right now, I got a total of 5 out of 9 tips. So it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't, amazing. So the first two games, I got my tip correct. And as you can see, the second game, or one of the first games, sorry, on the Saturday, I got my tip correct. Then for the rest of that Saturday, I got every other tip that I put in incorrect. So that was pretty average. But then on the Sunday, we got every tip correct, which, sort of reeled my score back in, which left me getting 5 out of 9 tips in total. And that currently has me in 25th spot out of 29 participants in my own tipping competition, and I'm currently on 81 points in total. In first spot, we have Yusuf again, who got a total of 7 out of 9 tips last round, which is, pretty impressive considering it was pretty hard to tip last round. And then Yusuf is on a total points tally of 96 points in total. So fair play to Yusuf. But yeah, without further ado, let's see what my tips are like for the for round 17 of the 2024 AFL Premiership season. All right, kicking off round number 17, we've got a big game between my Pies and the Bombers this Friday night. My Pies, well, they're coming off an 11-point loss to the hands of the Gold Coast Suns, who just don't seem to lose at home. And the Bombers, well, they're coming off a 45-point loss to the hands of the Cats. I do think this is going to be a very good game of footy. I can't wait to go to it. Tomorrow night should be a ripping game of footy. We all know that on Anzac Day, my Pies, well, the Bombers and my Pies, actually drew at the end of the game. So that was a great game of footy, that was, and I'm not expecting anything less from this game on the Friday night. Should be a ripping game. Both teams play very well against each other normally, and yeah, I can see that happening again in this game. I do think my Pies are going to come away with the win in this one, but I do think it's going to be a very close one. I think my Pies will get the job done just by a margin of 8 points. The Bombers, I know they lost by a margin of 45 points against the Cats, but I think they are a little bit better than that. And I do think they'll really compete hard in this game and make it a close one. But I think my Pies will just get up in a very entertaining game of footy by a margin of 8 points in this one over the Bombers. Come on, the Pies. Next up, we've got the Kangaroos taking on Gold Coast for one of the first games on Saturday. We've got North Melbourne, who are coming off a 17-point loss, and we've got the Gold Coast Suns, who are coming off an 11-point win. I do think it's going to be a very enticing game of footy, this one. Obviously, we've got the Roos, who are playing some okay footy at the moment, playing at home in front of their home fans. And then we got the Suns, who win all the time at home, but then when they play away from home, they don't win that often. In fact, I don't think they've won away from home this season thus far. So it should make for an interesting game of footy, an enticing game of footy, like I said before. But yeah, I'm going to be tipping North Melbourne in this game. You may think I'm stupid. You may think I'm, kind of stupid for doing that. But I feel like North, they've been close to a win for a few weeks now, and I feel like this could be the game where they get the win. The Suns, they can't really win away from home this season. I think it's obviously going to be a challenge for North Melbourne to win this game, considering how the Suns have been playing this season, even without winning a game away from home. But I just feel like North Melbourne, they've been close to a win for 3 weeks in a row now, and I feel like they could get the job done in this game. So I'm going to back them in to do so. I'm backing in North Melbourne to beat the Suns in this game, in a sort of close game of footy, I reckon. Next up, we've got Port Adelaide taking on the Dogs for the second, I guess 145 game on the Saturday. Port Adelaide are coming off a 2-point win over the Saints, and the Dogs, they're coming off a 17-point win over the Roos. Should be a good game of footy, this one. You know, the Power, they're playing at home in front of their home fans at the Adelaide Oval, where they normally play okay at, even though, you know, against the Lions, it wasn't their best outing at home. And then you got the Dogs, you know, they're playing some good footy at the moment. They're playing some good team footy at the moment. And for that reason, I'm going to be backing in the Dogs. I just feel like the Dogs are playing a little bit better than the Power at the moment. I know it is at the Adelaide Oval. You know, so it'll be sort of a test for the Dogs this game, but I feel like the Dogs have just been playing a little bit better of the footy at the moment. They've just been playing a little bit better at the moment is what I'm trying to say, and I feel like they will get the job done in this game. I feel like the Dogs, they're clicking at the right time. They've got a bit of confidence behind them. So yeah, I'm going to be backing in the Dogs to beat the Power in this one, the Adelaide Oval. Then next up, we move on to GMHBA Stadium for a very intriguing game of footy between the Cats and the Hawthorn Footy Club. The Cats, they're coming off a 45-point win over the Bombers at the MCG. And we've got the Hawks who are coming off a win over the Eagles by 61 points. And that game was in Perth. It's a very enticing game. It's at GMHBA Stadium, you know, the home of the Cats. They normally play very well there, the Cats. And then you got the Hawks who are playing some good footy. You know, they're one of the most informed teams of in the comp at the moment. Yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting game to watch this one, but I'm gonna be backing in Hawthorn. I know that could be a silly tip because it is in Geelong, but I feel like the way that the Hawks are playing, they're just playing for each other. Everyone knows their role, and they're not an easy team to beat at the moment. So I can see the Hawks going down to the Cattery and walking away with the 4 points. I think it's going to be a close game, obviously, because, you know, it's at the Cattery. The Cats play well at the Cattery, and it's a much shorter ground than most grounds are. But I feel like the Hawks are going to come in with a good plan, execute it well, and get the job done over the Cats at the Cattery. So I'm backing in the Hawks in this one over the Cats. Then we move on to NG Stadium, 7:30 on Saturday night. We've got the Giants taking on the Blues. The Giants, they're coming off a 16-point loss to the hands of the Crows. And the Blues, well, they're coming off a 61-point win against the Tigers on last Sunday. It should be an okay game, this one. You know, it is at NG Stadium, the home of the Giants, so it could make for a competitive game. But I feel like with the way that the Blues are playing, you can't not tip them in this game. So I am going to be backing in the Blues to get the job done in this game. You know, it was sort of close a little bit between the Tigers and the Blues for a little bit of that game. And then the Blues just absolutely blew the Tigers away. They've just got that switch which can make them, you know, just kick goals very quickly in a game of footy and blow the margin away. And that's really what happened against the Tigers for the Blues. So yeah, I feel like the Blues, with the way that they're playing at the moment, they're playing some good footy. They're playing some good team footy. They just know what they're doing at the moment. They can score heavily. They can score heavily quickly as well. It's going to be a very tough task for the Giants, who have sort of had an up and down season, coming up against the Blues, who are just playing some good footy at the moment at the right time of the season. So yeah, I'm going to be backing in the Blues to beat the Giants in this game. Then we move on to the last game of the Saturday games. We've got the Dockers taking on the Tigers at Optus Stadium. The Dockers, they are coming off a very, very impressive 1-point win over the Swans. I know it did come down to a kick after the siren that McDonald sadly missed for himself and the Swans. But, you know, credit to the Dockers though. They played some great footy. They knew what they had to do coming into that game, and they executed their plan very well. But yeah, they should get the job done over the Tigers in this game. You know, the Tigers, they're coming off a 61-point loss to the hands of the Blues. They played all right in patches against the Blues in that game. The Tigers did, but it wasn't enough. And, you know, it's going to be tough coming over to Perth and trying to beat the Dockers, who, you know, play very exceptional at home. And they're coming off a very good win over the Swans away from home as well. So they're feeling good about themselves, the Dockers. They're feeling confident coming into this game. So I'm going to be backing in the Dockers to beat the Tigers in this one at Optus Stadium. Then we move on to the last games of the round, the 3 Sunday games, we start off with the D's taking on the Eagles. The D's, they are coming off a 5-point loss to the hands of the Lions. The Eagles, they're coming off a 61-point loss to the hands of the Hawks. The D's, well, they only lost by a margin of 5 points at the Gabba, so they should, take a little bit of confidence from that game. They sort of had it. They almost had that game, really, the D's. And then, obviously the Lions came back and won. But they still played very well in that game, the D's. And I think they're going to play very well and be able to get the job done over the Eagles in this game. The Eagles, I know they beat the D's earlier in the season, but that was in Perth and we had the Harley Reid show going. I know Harley Reid will be playing in this game, but it is at the MCG. And the D's, they normally play well at home, and the Eagles haven't really played that well away from home this season. It could be a good game. Maybe the Eagles will take confidence for beating the D's earlier in the season, but like I said, the Eagles away from home, they haven't really been as good this season as they have been at home. Well, I didn't really say that, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I think the D's will win this game at home over the Eagles. I think it'll be a tough assignment for the Eagles this one, so I'm backing in the D's to get the job done over the Eagles in this one. Then the last 2 games of the round, we have got, the second last game of the round, we've got St Kilda taking on Sydney for the Pride game. The Saints, they're coming off a 2-point loss to the hands of the Power, and the Swans, they're coming off a 1-point loss to the hands of the Dockers. So both teams are coming in to this game off the back of close losses. Should be a decent game, this one. It is at Marvel Stadium. The Saints at home, they play all right. But the Swans, I think they're going to bounce back from that 1-point loss against the Dockers. Even, they didn't lose by that much, and they still played all right against the Dockers. Well, yeah, they didn't lose by that much. They lost by a margin of 1 point. And they still played very decent footy against the Dockers in that game. And they only just came up 1 point short, the Swans. So I think they'll be able to get the job done in this game over the Saints. So I'm tipping the Swans to get the job done over the Saints in this one. The Saints at home, they could play well, but I think the Swans will be too good for them in this game. The Swans have just been playing some exceptional great footy all season, and I think they'll bring that great footy that they play into this game and be able to beat the Saints in this one. Then we move on to the last game of the round. We've got the Lions taking on the Crows at the Gabba. The Lions, they're coming off a exhilarating 5-point win over the D's, and the Crows, they're coming off a 16-point win over the Giants. So maybe they'll take a bit of confidence from that win and bring it into this game, but I think it'll be tough for them. I think the Lions, they're just growing week by week. They almost got done by the D's last round at home, but they managed to get the job done, which shows that they're growing into in some confidence at the moment. And yeah, I think they're going to be able to get the job done over the Crows in this game. It's normally a decent game though between the Lions and the Crows. That is normally the case at the Adelaide Oval. I don't know what the case is at the Gabba, but I feel like it's sort of the same at the Gabba as well. I do think it'll be a sort of ebbing and flowing game, this one, but I think the Lions at home will be a little bit too good for the Crows. I think the Lions do have to be a little bit careful there, because the Crows, they do have a lot of scoring power, and if they can use that scoring power and maybe get out to a little bit of a lead, it could be a potential sort of dangerous game for the Lions. But I think at home the Lions should have enough to get the job done over the Crows in this one. So those are my tips, all done and dusted for this round. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We go into the Pies, my Pies versus the Bombers on Friday night. It should be a ripping game. A vlog of that game will be out on the Saturday, so hopefully you guys enjoy that video as well. But yeah, cheers guys for watching, and I'll catch you for that vlog on Saturday. Cheers.